countrymen, I have come to the studio once again, this time to make a special appeal to all members of the armed forces. I urge all ranks who are armed to cease firing forthwith. I also urge Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and any following whom he has with him to meet me at headquarters, 1st Infantry Brigade, Beshi Ridge.
On the morning of June 1979, a military coup was underway. A coup led by an Air Force pilot. Jerry John Rawlings had been broken out of jail to overthrow a government. This is the June 4th revolution.
The President, the Vice President, and all ministers and their deputies are dismissed from office. B. Parliament is dissolved. C. The Council of State is abolished. D. All political parties are proscribed. It is therefore illegal for any person or persons to belong to or operate under any party.
Has come into being in this country. Supposed to be 24 years of independence.
Before then, nothing was known of this young soldier who became head of state and president of Ghana for almost 20 years.
When you have a leader like Rawlings, many people will love him, but maybe an equal number will also not want him at all. When he came to power through a military takeover, this country was sinking and sinking fast.
This is a man who, in 10 years, between 1982 and 1992, faced not less than 77 attempted coups. 77 attempted coups to physically attempt to eliminate him.
There are so many people who will be ready to die because of Rawlings. Rawlings wasn't perfect. Rawlings wasn't he wasn't God or a teen God. He was a human being.
Songs in praise of me, please. Sing it in praise of Ghana and Africa, the black man.
The economic crisis is expressed in food shortages and nutrition difficulties that Ghana has never known before. Toiletries, canned fish and milk are only on offer at extortionate prices, the bulk of them going for sale across Ghana's frontiers in exchange for harder currency. Smugglers involved are selling the foreign money they get on the black market at 5 times the official rate. Some people can't afford to buy anything on the open market, while others are forced to queue all day for simple items like boxes of matches. Ghana is not basically a poor country, but economic mismanagement is as much a feature of the present government as it has been of all that have gone before.
Hello? You better shut up when I'm talking, okay? And the line is not straight. Move!
The people of Ghana have endured hunger for far too long. There is not one single worker who could make ends meet, and the miracle is that the people have been able to endure this for so long. You may say that this has been possible because of our excellent tradition of tolerance and patience. But patience and tolerance can be dangerous because they allow a buildup of anger to such an extent that when the bubble finally bursts, there can hardly be a way of containment. Countrymen and friends of Ghana, we must thank God that this pent-up anger did not erupt as it might have. The threat to the unity of the nation was real. If we had not acted the way we did, the nation could have faced total disintegration.
Jerry John Rawlings, a man of many faces, charismatic, enigmatic, and maybe the man who through courage and love for his nation ended an era of coup d'etats in Ghana.
December 31st was the last coup d'etat that we had in Ghana. And we want to give him the credit for ending coup d'etats, because it became fashionable in our sub-region where one person, one country overthrows and then the next day you hear it in a different country. Military adventurism by some of the people in the profession. And that, I would say, it was something that had to end because the country was going down. People were migrating. People couldn't cope with the hardships of the times. So for that, he should take some credit for ending all coup d'etats for the good of our country.
Born on the 22nd of June, 1947 in Accra, Ghana, to Victoria Agbutui and his Scottish father, James Ramsay, Rawlings attended Achimota School and the military academy at Teshi. Rawlings was married to Nana Konadu Ajiman.
I remember him more as a young adult. When I really got to know him, he was over 10. But then his character formation had reached a very advanced level. He was very self-assured. He was very much dependent on himself. And he was always after knowledge. He was a very friendly person and willing to help others.
Morning, Nani, if I check 5 o'clock, you senior more firm.
I met Rawlings at the age of 14 when he came to my grandfather, and at a point took my grandfather as his father. Openly, at 6 March parade or 31st anniversary parade at the Independence Square, he could walk from his mic when he's giving a speech and he's trying to narrate a story on an issue. He would leave the mic, walk towards my grandfather, holding his hand and then lift him up, that this is my father. And then after that, he would tell the story behind it, why he's taking him as his father. Through his actions and inactions, I admired him and I enjoyed him. What I enjoyed most was his look at that time. I enjoyed that one more than even the later part of him. He looks so slim, strong, and when he's walking, the vim, when he comes out, brilliant. And I was following him closely, picking up his words, learning a lot from him. And in fact, my whole family is Rawlings.
So now that electricity has reached this community, it is important it is used to generate funds for further development.
I would have loved to be his Baba because the man was a great person, sharp. You can say all that you want to say about it. Sharp person and somebody who encourages people, down to earth, hands on. You've seen him when the church, the school, universities were closed and we were carrying the cocoa so we can make money, foreign money. He was there, he was around, he carried cocoa. The railway lines, when the railway lines were being rehabilitated, he was there, hands on. And we know When we were building the markets, he was there. He would come and encourage us. When we were clearing the mess, and wherever we went throughout this country.
Working with Mr. Rawlings was actually tough, but exciting, you know. And in some cases, quite affectionate, you know, relationship. It can be hilarious, you know what I mean, with jokes and whatnot. And I think that he comes out to the public a little more so stern, so strict, whatnot. But hey, he was a great, loving fellow. Overly sympathetic. I thought that he was even more sympathetic than some of his colleagues. You know, and he always had a listening ear.
Policies that the government has been implementing are policies that do not find favor with the general mass of our people, and that the mass of the people of this country have been systematically impoverished during the period of Rawlings' rule.
There was a funeral of Nanado's mother, President Nanado's mother, at Kibi, that I had to go with him. On that day, there was another funeral in Tema that he was to attend. So we had to split ourselves for him to go to the Kibi. And at the time he took a decision to go to the Kibi program, he told me, Chief, I didn't look at Nanado and what he's doing to me. I have a good relationship with the sisters who have been my friends from childhood. Because of that, I'll attend the funeral. So this is Rawlings for you. When the MPP thought Rawlings is evil and can slaughter human beings and even chop the meat, I was laughing. Because this is somebody who sees a situation, who comes across an issue or a problem and he weeps. And I had to console him. Have you seen Rawlings weeping before? Yes. I'm telling you of what I've seen. So if I'm telling you of who the man Rawlings, then you know what it is. His heart is for the people.
I saw him weep like a baby. Because somebody called him and told him about the death of a very close friend that I believe he felt he has failed to help in life. Somebody who has been good to him. So he broke down. And we were in a taxi in London going to a program. And he couldn't control himself. And I was, okay, the driver happens to be a foreigner, so I wasn't worried. And he wept like a baby. That's the first time I'd seen him like that, because I thought he was too courageous to even shed a tear for anything. This is how I saw him. But there was the human side of everybody. So, there are people who dislike him. There are those who like him. There are those who don't understand him. And there are those who understand him. He's not perfect. He's only human. So, he may have committed errors in his life. He may have hurt people in trying to, as it were, steer the revolution once it started. And it wasn't going to be an easy thing. I mean, there's a saying that revolution sometimes eats up its own children.
I have a lot of respect for human rights. And I will not be a party to any government that will abuse human rights. The PNDC respects human rights. We believe in the rule of law, and this is what we've tried to do. People may have been killed here and there, like it will happen in Britain, America, or elsewhere. If these did happen, it happened without the approval of the PNDC.
Rawlings. He took responsibility for all of it, like he has always done. And that's why when he was handing over, he apologized on behalf of both June 4th and PNGC atrocities. That is what the media people don't want to go back and find out. And any opportunity he had the chance, he actually apologized. And I know, as a matter of fact, those I'm sure would come up in his memoirs, where he has personally visited individuals who were wrongly treated and apologized to them personally.
I don't think that as an individual, Mr. Jerry Rawlings ever said, go eliminate this man, go kill this man. No, it's part of our history. America has had its revolution. USSR had its revolution. The English, they've had their revolution. It's a feature in the life of a factory. It is how you handle it. And I would say that, as far as I know, as many times as possible, when we have the opportunity during June 4th occasion, anniversary, Mr. Rawlings has had to make an apology for excesses which were executed by some of his men during the period. That's all that he can do.
One of the things I learned from him, the first time I met Jerry Rawlings in the castle as president, he was referring to certain people who did not show respect for the office he held. And that was where his beef was. That one he would take you on. So he told me, he's prepared to accept any criticism, but you must give respect to him as the head of state. That was the whole thing, and I respected him for that. And I used that throughout the period I worked with him. When he was going wrong, I will come in and say, Mr. President, he said, what? Then I'll tell him, what you're doing, it can lead to this problem.
Very fast, two of them running like a net. To Austin is leaving them behind, and that's to Austin breaking the tape, followed by Kofi Jim and Chairman Rawlings in that order.
He didn't spend too much time with the children when he was head of state, when I knew him. Out of office, he liked to go to his friends and, chill and all that, So then again, you would say that, he probably didn't have too much time. He used to go horse riding with Zanetto.
Chairman Rawlings has collected his nicely.
He's very strict, very particular, so we'd be flying, and I remember initially the first few flights where he wanted me to go solo initially was in a microlight. It's a smaller aircraft, and you can practically land it anywhere. So, yeah, we'd be flying, but we didn't land on the roads or anything. just disclaimer, So we're flying, and he says, "Okay, put it down there." And you hesitate. He said, "Down there." So then he puts the power back, and he says, "Land it right there." And you think, "Oh my God, is this gonna?" And then, but he's not reckless. He's not reckless. He knows exactly what he's talking about. So at no point did I feel that my life was in danger based on him insisting that I landed at a specific point.
He got on extremely well with his. He gave them, as much education at a high level as was possible. He had 4 children with Her Excellency Nana Kuredu Ajiman Rawlings. All of them finished tertiary education. As you know, the first one, a girl, became a medical doctor. Then there was Yah Santua, followed by Amina, and the last one is Kimathi. And they all loved their father very much.
From a distance, people think it's impossible to actually have some kind of a disagreement or a debate with him. But I think he actually has respect for someone who can be brave enough to actually say, look, I have a difference of opinion and this is what I think. You know, because we all know we don't know everything. And just being brave enough to stand your ground and say what you think is important.
He loved his wife, he loved his children. I never saw any sign of he didn't care about the children. He did. But maybe he left it mainly to the woman. You know, I mean, some people, he likes to have his little good time here and there. But his children, it was a no-go for anybody who tried to misbehave around them. To be very frank with you, that much. I saw the children, in fact, when I started working for Mrs. Rawlings in the house, it was an office we set up in her house. Zaneto was in Wesley Girls. Kimathi and Amina were in Morning Star. And I think Yasan Tuatu had just joined Wesley Girls. So I saw them all like literally grow up, especially the last two. When they came back from school every day, they were in my office, jumping from here and there. I knew it all. I liked them, he liked them. The time they used to just say, oh, we're going to Daddy to go and swim. I mean, there was a swimming pool in the castle, you know. There was he was a good father as far as that is concerned, but maybe he didn't have time because of stately duties as a revolutionary and then become president in a constitutional government. There was so much that he had to attend to.
The right to defend, Onania, your freedom. Ona, to enable Koni soldier to get used to the idea, okay, that civilian also has the right, Ona, to hold a weapon. Onania. Ona, first you have to inculcate the idea into his head. Onania. And it's not an easy thing to do.
President Rawlings' entry into public office as a head of state changed the style of leadership. Changed the style of leadership because being somebody who wanted to be close to the ordinary persons, he was able to travel around and talk to people. Because he was an Air Force officer, he could fly to 4 regions in a day, which was impossible and still is impossible if you are going to do it by road. And so leadership was something that he was very efficient at. And also he brought around him a number of senior officers in the military whom he depended on. But within a short time, he also formed a group of civilians who helped him to establish what later on became a party for him, you know. And I think that it's a quality that he developed himself and also kept till the very end.
It was his style, the simplicity of his being. You got me. He didn't like this adornment and whatnot. I've heard other people talk about it. They don't know what happened, you know. But if you were to appear before the chairman, PNDC, you got to check yourself. So you say, Miriam, can you get me the minister for something, or secretary for, or somebody? He comes in, I told, what's the problem? I told, it's cool, don't worry, he just wants. Invariably, PNDC people, they meet in my office before they go up, have chat, Mrs. Grant, everyone. But the point I'm making is that to go upstairs, for most of my colleagues, they say, listen, you take my gold watch, put that down, gold chain, put down, you know, any of these fanciful things. Because you are appearing before Mr. Rawlings. Now, Mr. Rawlings does not believe in these, gold and whatnot things. He says that it's the evidence of living beyond your means. But he brought on board, and that is one of the greatest things. He brought on board around him such a huge crowd of intelligent, educated persons. Many, and to service the nation. He believed in unifying the people. He believed that with a solid team, we can move faster than probably what we are doing today in terms of party politics.
This bridge belongs to Ghana, but it is more yours because it is Ajomoro. It is your property. Do not see it as government property. All of you assembled here are also the government because the PNDC is a government that is or should be run by the people.
We used to call him smart skipper. He was hands-on leader. And he knew what it was about. He had a purpose. If you know what he says, I didn't know what it was about, the one doesn't know the man. And he encourages people. Whatever you put your hands on, when you dream about something and you want to try it and you want to tell him, he also play it around and give you his own, perception about how it should be.
But the point is that we have set the example. We have shown that we're capable of doing it.
What I was afraid of Mr. Rawlings, it's one of the painful, things, caps we have to carry all along. When we go out, then people will say, you are afraid, you people, you are afraid of Mr. Rawlings. He was beating and slapping people, and so then I don't probably wouldn't have any cheek. You got me. That's a kind of thing. But he wanted me to treat him as a colleague. He called me Minia. How can I be afraid of Minia, as it were? And but we showed great deference to him on account of the fact that he was the leader. I don't want to go too much. I'm saying that when the two of us are in the room and we are having a chat, or in general doing work, we are at a certain level. But once a third person comes in, I pull attention, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. You see, for the third person, it's a yes sir relationship with him. But here was working with somebody, he had so much confidence in me, and I had so much confidence in him.
I just don't think it's fair and right that Liberia, that used to be, a former colony of America, should have degenerated into a carnage of that kind. No Western country lifted a hand to assist her. And yet she didn't actually need that much.
A classic case. We went to BBC in London, we were on our way to San Francisco for a conference, and BBC said they wanted to have him in the studio. And we went into the studio. So whilst he was talking, he started firing at some multinationals, accusing them of something. And the good thing was, it wasn't a live thing. So when we were done, Zainab Bedawi, she has hard talk and all that. We were having a little reception. He came to me and said, how do you manage this man? He said, I thank God it was not a live program. BBC would have been sued for what he had said. He said, what terrible things he said. So when we were going home, I said to him, Mr. President, the things you were saying, this when I said, oh, but it was true. I said, but Chief, if people say this is a multinational, an American company, they will kill out BBC for airing such a thing about, because it turned out that what he was saying was untrue, because we cross-checked. He said to me, he started blasting me. He said, you were not with me then. Ask Nana. You know who Nana is? Yeah, that's how you call him, Nana. So That evening, we were not talking. He was angry that I tried to say that, they said you said the wrong thing. So next morning, we're going to the airport. And then he picked the phone and called his wife. And then he says, speak to her. So I took the phone. You know, there was some little fight. So I told her, this is what he said, and he mentioned you. And he was on speaker. And then she goes, oh, but Jerry, how can you go and say this? Then he snatched the phone from her. He snatched the phone from her hand and shut it. We're not talking. Honestly, no, this was fun days. Later on, when we went to the airport, we were waiting for our flight. We started drinking coffee. I didn't want to raise the issue because this was going to be a fight here. So we started chatting as if nothing happened in the car. It was funny. I mean, it was a nice guy to be with. When he got angry, he was not a nice guy. Simple.
Some of us, Adi Yakuma Ajupom, Ma Omai, Obinum Eya Ejuma, Gold Nebanu. I didn't try to say that yet. Some of us, young smuggle, young Sagol, no, Etutomao. Mumu says, Anyamanu, Sasikana, Ebeko, Shanu Sano, Ebe create inflation, Ama Yanina. And I'm Wamu. I hope what I'm hearing is false. Sir, police, when they are looking up to some of you policemen, some of you are even partaking in this nonsense.
He doesn't just get angry. Like anybody else, when you're giving guide people the right and ask what to do, don't do as well. You can talk, shout, but there were these conspiracy theories that he was slapping people and all that. Never in my lifetime. Coming me, I'll be 75. And I was so close to this man, I never saw him slap anybody. Like, you know, even his profession, soldiers, they shout. They give commands and they shout. Those things that people are talking about, but they think that he beats people, he slaps people in cabinet and all that. I've had the privilege of being throughout in his cabinet. I never. And there's nobody who can stick his or her neck or chest out and say that Papa J slapped him.
He never hit me. So if I'm a living example, if he hit me, the whole world would know about it. He never touched me. In his anger, he would slam a door and stuff like that. But that's typical of him. But because I trying to push a certain agenda which was progressive, and when he meets resistance, then he gets a bit fiery.
Bonin nani if I check 5 o'clock, you senior more firm
Nobody thought what we were going through from Nkrumah all the way through to May 15th, June 4th, and all the various, coup d'etats that we've been through. Nobody thought that we would ever have a stable transition of power. But he said it. 31st, he said, look, that revolution was going to be the last of revolutions. And so it is appropriate when we talk about he being the founder of the stable Fourth Republic that we are all enjoying now. We've been through things, and nations have been through. People who do not read do not know where the first Queen came. Cromwell and the French Revolution, what happened at that time? 40,000 people died, and that is where they are today. People had to sacrifice, shed blood for nations to be on their feet, and he was able to do just that. Nobody can take away from him, founder of the Fourth Republic. We had First Republic, Nkrumah, and the Second Republic, no one stood as tall as Kwame Nkrumah did. Third, and the fourth, Papaji stands very tall.
Now that electricity has reached this community,
there was no way but for the passion of Jerry John Rawlings that the national grid of electricity could have gone to the north. It was impossible. He threatened engineers that if that was not possible, they should resign. He would get another engineer to do that. It was done. We are here enjoying it, and Akosombo has not dried up. That's the social level. When you go for the political level, I keep asking people, lawyers particularly, immediately the Constitution came and the indemnity clauses are not democratic. These transition provisions, they are not democratic. The question those lawyers don't ask themselves in terms of constitutional practice, why is it that this is the only constitution that has survived for 27 years? Is it not indeed the case that it was a political document well negotiated which brought everybody on board? The next was Kwame Nkrumah's constitution, under Kwame Nkrumah. It didn't last 6 years maximum. But we have had a constitution people claim had dictatorial and non-democratic clauses that has survived 27 years. Do they bother to do the analysis and find out why? And the person under whose stewardship that constitution was drafted is Jerry John Rawlings.
As we start serious deliberations, there would be no better indication of your trust in your fellow Liberians than making a new beginning with a call for a ceasefire.
His idea of encouraging integrity in whatever we do, not only when you are in government, but even at home and dealing with others, you know, especially when you are bringing up children, you must teach them certain things, you know. And I think that was the greatest lesson. These are the things that constitute his legacy. I know you can point to, yes, International Conference Center was built in his time, this road was built, that bridge was built. But his concentration on principles that are evergreen, by which he needed to remind people throughout his life about. I think that is the legacy that we must all try not only to follow, but to preserve.
There are so many people who see Rawlings as a mentor. There are so many people who will be ready to die because of Rawlings. All along, people have been monitoring to see that this man should not be maltreated by anybody. This man, Rawlings wasn't perfect. Rawlings wasn't that, he wasn't God or a teen God. He was a human being.
June 4th, therefore, belongs to the people of this country, and they have a right to measure those of us in leadership today by the yardstick of June 4th, 1979. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some who say the times and conditions have changed. They say the excesses of June 4th era should not be glorified or made a part of national life. No, we do not glorify the excesses of June 4th, but we glorify its principles, and all of us must remember that principles are principles and they never change.
He was a good man. He probably was a bad man to some people. He probably was bad to me at some point, but he was a good man. He wanted others to live better lives as well. So when he talked about social justice and everything, he was looking for an opportunity for people to live well at least within our country, to live better than we were living. There's too much poverty. He saw it all at first hand. He tells me what he wants done. And but sometimes it may not come out to a lot of people that way, that this is what he wants done. But he would confide in me on so many things, how to approach things, you know. It's sad. I'm being very frank with you. I don't think he should have died now. I was always hoping that I'll make up with him again and I'll get the opportunity to explain certain actions of mine. And I'm sure he would have respected that. Unfortunately, God knows best.
Africa had exported to the West men and women, potential implements of production. Africa had imported from the West guns, by definition, instruments of destruction.
Thank God, Ali Mazrui, professor, came to the country, I believe in the year 2000 or so, and delivered, you know, a lecture, public lecture at the University of Ghana, Legon. A public lecture, where he said, Jerry Rawlings, the president, started as a maximum dictator, but ended as the greatest democrat in Africa. I saw when he handed over in 2001, there was a text from President Mandela, just about that, signed by him. He said, that is a rare gem in the sands, beaches of Africa. That's the person we've lost.